Hi, this is Terri Mielitz. I want to talk to you tonight a little bit about adversity in our brain. This is part one of Chuckin Bricks. And basically, what Chuckin Bricks is all the trauma, all the experiences, and things that we carried with us throughout our whole childhood into adulthood. If you've had any adversity, verbal abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, just the things that happen to us, being bullied, a huge life event like a loss of a parent, a loss of somebody who you really love. Maybe you've been part of a hurricane or some traumatic event, suicide, someone you love has committed suicide. All of that stays within our brain and our body. Our body does keep the score. Tonight, I just want to talk about why are we the way we are? Some of the basics of building that piece of us, our brain, how it works. All right. I'm going to give you an example. So I come home one day from work and I quick throw in some clothes in the laundry. I swept the floor, started supper. My husband's sitting in the chair. My kids are sitting in the chairs. They're teenagers. And I'm just doing my thing. I've been at work all day. And as I'm going about doing my work, I'm looking around and just seeing them doing nothing, nothing, nothing. And so I start priming myself by talking to myself, talking in my head, is saying to myself, you motherfuckers, you're so lazy. Why don't you help me? You can't see that I need help. You can't see that you could be sweeping or there's laundry to be folded and put away. What is wrong with all of you that you don't just help me? Why does no one care about me? Blah, blah, blah. And I just go in and I just prime myself for 2 hours. I'm just telling myself why everybody else is a piece of shit in my life. So I'm standing there at the end of the night after supper's done. I don't say nothing, of course. I'm just getting crankier, meaner, sarcastic. Nobody has any idea what's really going on. They just know mom's being a bitch. All right. That's what they know. That's their thought. So I'm doing my dishes and I'm sitting there, I'm looking at everybody. And as I do dishes, I'm swearing, calling them names, just building up, just building anxiety, anger, and all those negative emotions into my body till I am ready to explode. But then I realize, Terri, this is years ago, all right? Terri, why are you not catching your self talk? What are you doing? What do you know? I had taken a bunch of classes in college, really focused on mental health, and I had the tools to know better. But I chose not to use them for almost 2 hours of my night until I caught myself because it takes time to practice. It takes time to get better at catching your stinking thinking or whatever you want to call it, your psycho self, that craziness. But those beliefs that everybody else is at fault and why don't they see what I need all goes, in my opinion, and everything I know about adversity goes back to childhood and how our beliefs and our brains are built. So I'll get into that, but what I finally did when I caught myself, I thought about my self-talk. I said, hey guys, could you please help me? And every one of them said, what would you like us to do? And they got up, helped put the dishes away. They finished doing some laundry and they asked, what else could they do? Once I acknowledged I needed help, instead of living in my own messed up little brain of it's all about me and what is wrong with you, instead of understanding what happened to me and what is my story and how was my brain developed as a child. It's not the same as everyone else's. So I needed to take responsibility for my own emotion and asking for what I need or telling people for what I need. All right. So that's my story. We're going to get into that, break it down a little bit. So think about this. Our childhood experiences, especially our first 5 years. You think when a baby is born and they come out, their job is to attach to a caring, loving adult. That's their job. They eat, drink, poop. There's nothing. They don't have to worry about riding a bike or writing a paper. Their job is to attach. So as a mom, and think about your children or your own life experiences as a toddler, that 1 to 5 years, both parents are so important. I truly believe moms are the most important the first 5 years. because we need to interact with our kids. That holding, and maybe for my generation, I think younger dads are better at being good caregivers. I think you need to expect them to do that because our children need both of us if they're there. Anyway, but as a young mom with your baby, are you holding that baby and talking and making eye contact? Are you playing peekaboo? Are you teaching your child to problem solve and do critical thinking? We're going to get into the different types of brain parts and how all that works. So I think as moms, we really need to focus on building a good attachment with our children. You think about a child who grows up in a home where they are neglected and ignored. I worked with children in foster care for many years. I licensed foster families. I had a horrible teenage years. Stuff had happened to me as a childhood, or my perception of things. I made some really poor choices, ended up running away, ended up in foster care, homeless for a while, just lots of messy stuff, drugs, criminal activity that just really made life hard for me because I made those choices. And I think a lot of it was based because I didn't get the problem solving skills, the critical thinking skills that I needed to make that stuff happen. So thinking about a child and building that relationship and that attachment, that's how we're building trust. We need to discipline our kids to build trust. They need to know that what you say is what you mean. Every time you say something and don't follow through, you're teaching your child they can't trust you. There's not consistency in your life, which is a problem. They need consistency. They need to know that every night, this is our process for going to bed. We go to bed at 8 o'clock. We get up. When parents get up in the morning, you need to get up before they do so you have time to get in a space of happiness, that you don't wake up all crabby at the same time as your children and then you're like, get up, Jesus, hurry up, we're going to be late for school. That's not how it works. When we're healthy, we're going to set up success for our children. By doing those consistent things, we are giving our children the tools of how we can fix our life to work better. You're teaching them that to plan and to expect certain things, and that builds that trust. It allows our children to feel safe. It allows our children to grow up and make good decisions and not make poor decisions that actually hurt them later because they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to problem solve. So our brains we have two different parts. We have our amygdala. So that is our emotion center. It actually helps us control our fear, our disgust, and our anger. It's our fight or flight part of our brain. We use it when we have an emergency, okay? It is survival. When you go into fight or flight, you are actually, your vision, your hearing, everything is going to change because you need to protect yourself. You need to keep yourself safe. It could be gunshots. It could be a tornado is coming. It could be a car accident. It could be violence somewhere. Our body's going to fight or flight. Our amygdala is our emotion part, our feeling part. We should not be living in that part of our brain. Many people with trauma and adversity in childhood live in the feeling part of their brain. So everything that happens to them during the day, everything that they encounter, they're thinking, how does this make me feel? When we're only feeling every activity in our life, we're going to have a lot of emotional problems. We're going to have anxiety. We're going to have depression. We're going to think the world is against us. We're going to blame everybody else for our problems and the things that are wrong in our life. Another part of our brain is our prefrontal cortex, which is our decision-making part of our brain. It's the director, or it should be the director. It should be what makes decisions for us. It considers consequences of everything we do, and it solves problems. That part of our brain, when something happens to us every day, our brain is going, what am I learning from this? And what can I do about it? So a lot of times I think about people who have issues with their family members or coworkers or alcohol, drugs, abuse, all of that stuff. And the people I work with, I tend to find live in the amygdala. They live in that emotional part of their brain. And no matter what happens, it's always somebody else's fault. They always feel emotion about everything. You could get, your sister could make a comment to you and right away you take it as judgment and criticism because your brain is thinking, what do I think they think about me? when in reality, it's what I think about me. So my self-concept from triggers that go on from small childhood and on up are living in my life and in my brain so much that I actually, every doubt, everything I dislike about myself, if I'm not, I don't think I'm pretty enough, I have too many wrinkles, I'm too fat, I'm not smart enough, I have a crappy job, I use drugs, everyone knows. I'm in a domestic violence situation, everybody knows. We just assume people think about us all the time and are making judgments. I don't mean this to be mean, but I am actually a pretty forward person. Here's the thing. We are all unique in our trauma. We are all unique in who we are, but not one damn person is special. So quit thinking that you're special and that you should be different than anyone else. You've gone through shit. I've gone through shit. But you know what? All of our shit is equally important and it has all affected us in some way or another. So nobody is special. We are unique, but we're not special. So here's what happens when our amygdala is in charge, because that's what I went through for many years. My amygdala was in charge of everything I did. My prefrontal cortex, just so you guys know, it's not even developing fully until 25 years. With a healthy family, a healthy relationship, by 25, we should have every problem solving skill, critical thinking skill that's out there. So we should be doing a really good job at thriving in society instead of just surviving. But when our prefrontal cortex doesn't develop, so let's say we have a trauma, maybe at 5 years old, you're sexually molested or you're raped at 7, or your parents or siblings gave you methamphetamines at 11 or 9. And I've seen that with clients I've worked with, where somebody else started them into addiction. They were already, obviously, in my opinion, growing up in a house with adversity that their siblings or parents using. But we are teaching our children what the world is like, and their brain is remembering that. We have neurons in our brain. Basically, there's plasticity in our brain too. So the good news is, and I'm a little off track right now, but I do that. I have a squirrel in my brain, so I go all over the place. But our brain has plasticity in it, so we can actually change the neurons and add new experiences and new stories to build our prefrontal cortex and get out of the emotional and that amygdala part of our brain. We can do better. It's hard work. I've been doing it for years. I am so much better, but I still have work to go. And that's why I'm here talking to you, because I know it can be done. I am passionate about this, but you have to get away from the bullshit that you lie to yourself about and thinking you're okay, or it's not for you, or there's nothing wrong with you. This is normal. It is not normal to live in our amygdala. It is not normal to hate our life, to hate ourselves. It is not normal to not get out there and thrive and be successful. If you would have asked me when I was 16 what I was going to be, I'd have told you dead or in prison, because that's where my brain was at. I saw no future. And it is actually really hard for me to get up here and talk to you guys. That fear of failure and judgment is still so strong in my brain. And I rebuke it. I refuse to accept it. And with failure comes learning, which comes success. So I'm going to keep going. All you haters, keep hating. I don't care, because maybe there's one person out there who's going to listen to me and change their life. So my failure is worth every second of that. So thinking about that prefrontal cortex, and how do we actually teach our children about that and get them online for where they should be, so that their story from childhood of abuse and neglect or trauma doesn't get in the way and derail them from the success that they could actually be in. So we have lived in toxic stress most of our lives. Our body can feel like we're always in an emergency, right? Everything that goes on is chaos. Our body can go into long-term fight or flight mode, and we're just responding to everything. We don't know how to manage ourselves. We don't know what's true or what's false. We just feel, we feel, we feel. We need to quit feeling and start thinking. Our body, when it's in fight or flight mode all the time, rarely gets a break. Our brain is living in chaos, which causes all that anxiety and all that crappy feelings, which affects our physical health, our mental health, everything. Adversity changes the way our brain is meant to work, and we can get it back online. I was talking earlier about that our brain has plasticity, and this means it is actually changeable, which is great and why we are even here. We can change our responses out of our amygdala and make it go into our prefrontal cortex. What we do to give ourselves new experiences, positive experiences in our life, to change those neurons and those memories that have been set up in our brain since we were just little kids. Our brains have connections called neurons. They talk to each other, right? They're communicating back and forth. This is what happens here. Let's put a memory in your brain. If we use the connections more often, so like if we're to change our brain, if we're using connections, like being around positive people, people who don't use drugs, talking to ourselves, changing the scenario, the verbiage in our head. No, Terri, you are good enough. No, Terri, you are smart enough. Terri, it doesn't matter that you're getting old. That's why you have wrinkles. You've lived a wonderful life. It's okay. We need to give ourselves the positive self-talk and reinforce that we are freaking amazing. It doesn't matter what other people think. It only matters what I think. All right. So we can use those connections and use them more often in positive ways so we can build a stronger connection and change the way we react to stuff. So our self-talk is the first tool I would say to you is start catching yourself. If you have to start for a day or two, mark down checks for every positive and everything negative thing you think. And I guarantee you'll be shocked at what goes through your head. Try to find counteractions to go against all that negative stuff. Get people in your life that will lift you up. You know, in Millbank, we meet every Thursday at 2 o'clock at the Millstone for Coffee with a Cause. But that is a group that's about supporting and uplifting and making friendships and relationships that are healthy, even if we're in unhealthy spots. We need to support our sisters and brothers and lift each other up instead of leaving them in the darkness because they're not good enough for us, or maybe they're doing something we don't like. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're at in your journey. If you are ready to start looking at your self-talk and making changes, we welcome you to join us and let us help lift you up and become those relationships that you need that are positive so we can help you change your amygdala and get it into a better spot. Our brains are often, they're like a muscle too, right? If we don't exercise our bodies, we don't build muscle. We're going to lose everything that we have. Over time, as we get older, we can lose the ability to walk, to lift things. We need to exercise every part of our body. I think we forget so many times mind, body, and soul work together. We have to take care of all three of those things. Those muscles, they don't get stronger. When we're always in fight or flight mode, our brain does not have time to ever make a stronger connection to positive stuff because we're constantly responding to triggers. We're constantly responding to the memories of our body from the last years of however long our life is, however old you are. We need to take time to influence put in the positive thinking. You know, go find some TEDx videos. There's amazing ones. Any topic you want. I tell you what, I use them all the time, and there are so many of them that I just love. Girl Up is one. If you go Google Girl Up TEDx, that is so powerful. I think for women to think about our bodies and what we're offering sexually to men, and not actually caring about ourselves. I really think it's important that we understand our value and that maybe not having a father our whole life doesn't mean we have to go find a daddy figure by laying out our body to them. I think there's a lot of trauma that comes with being sexually overactive and just doing a lot of that stuff that is actually not good for our mind. Um, So short-term effects on toxic stress, right, that can happen to us is difficulty in actually focusing and staying on task. So it can be a problem in your jobs, in your parenting, in your relationships, all of that stuff. Difficulty controlling our emotions because we're living on emotions. We're always looking for hate. Hate is not always there, but when you look for it, you're going to find it. When you look for negativity, you're going to find it. When you go in expecting something, you will find it. And when we talk on our boundaries night, we're going to talk a lot about that. Our bodies are going to get sick more easily when we're rolling on stress and not feeling happy and healthy and taking care of ourselves. We are going to be sick more often, which can affect everything. Our learning ability can go down immensely when we are living in that toxic stress. Long term, there's some major effects, you guys, on adversity in our life: health disease, depression, suicide, stroke, cancer, diabetes, obesity, substance use, dropping out of school, homelessness, unemployment, difficulty forming relationships. I mean, the list is really long. When we are dysfunctional and we are always negative and sad and looking for someone to blame, the people in your life that are remotely healthy are going to walk away from you, because you can't, it's really hard when you're working on your mental health to have someone around you who sucks the joy out of you every time you're around them. And you will find people moving away from you, and you will lose relationships. And we'll get into that deeper in boundaries. People act differently to adversity. The personalities play a huge part in it. So our genes, our DNA, our personalities, our environments, our lifestyles all equal to who we are. So it's a big topic. I'm just trying to briefly talk about some basic stuff. I want to do more on this topic. I want to have more conversations. So both nature and nurture are really important in who we become. We are all born with that DNA of our parents. There's a lot of stuff that they know passes down in our DNA that we can have the genetic material for. Depression, anxiety, alcoholism, that stuff can. The body does keep the score, and the body does remember what's happened. Just a brief example, they did studies a long time ago. I think it was on rats. They actually took a mama rat, more than one, I'm sure, but and they put a shock something on her. Every time they introduced the smell of cherry blossoms, they shocked her. Cherry blossoms, shock. Cherry blossoms, shock. She, every time she smelt cherry blossoms, after they had done that for a while, even without the shock collar on, she ran and hid and was petrified and very afraid. She knew it was danger. So then they took her away, had her have babies. So she had babies. The babies had never been shocked, ever. And they weren't with their mom when they did this. They just introduced the smell of cherry blossoms to those babies, and the babies had the same response as the mom. And they went and hid, and they were petrified, even though they've never had the shock. So our body remembers what happens to us. It's part of our instinct and our survival that we learn from what our parents experience. So I do believe that there's genetic material that predisposes us to having addictions and different things like that. My thing is, when we understand that, we need to do precautionary things as a young person to make sure make sure that we're not going down that path, because we can catch ourselves and be better and do better in our lifetime. We can be predisposed to so many things. So where we live, our support systems, our friends, they can be positive and they can be negative. Our life events, lifestyles, our diet, our sleep, our stress from our jobs, from our family, everything leads to who we become and what's going on in our lives. And we really need to check who we're letting sit at our table. Who are those people that are around you all the time? And are they offering positivity, or are they trying to take you down with them? So you need to check that and make sure the people that you allow the most into your life are people who are giving you blessings and supporting you. And again, that's more, we go very deep into it in our boundaries class. So what are some of the things that we can do to make sure our kids grow up to be healthy adults, and change their brain architecture and make sure it's more structural? I think one of the main things is to be consistent. You need to have bedtimes. You need to have expectations that they know you're going to follow. Don't say it if you're not going to do it. We have to build trust with our kids. We have to be consistent. We don't have to be perfect. If you do something and later you're like, crap, that was really bad, go back and have a conversation. Tell them you're sorry. Tell them this is not right. There is nothing wrong with you. Mama's brain is just a little broken. I'm working on it. Be real with our children. Let them know when we're doing something wrong so that brain of theirs can actually build some problem solving so they can be like, all right, this feeling came to me, but mom said it's not true. It's not about me. And they can readjust and they can grow from that. Get some therapy. It doesn't have to be with a counselor. I would encourage you if you have some very deep issues, get therapy, find a counselor, join groups, come and talk to us at Building Our Families. We have events all the time. They're on Facebook if you don't live locally. If you live locally, show up. Don't be ashamed to be there. There's tons of people there. Everybody, every single one of us can do better. So if you think you're too good to be there, you probably have the real problem. Um, do some exercise. Make sure you're watching your sleep cycle. And as I talk about that, I know I need to get better at it. How is your job? We should be, as much time as we spend at a job, we should be loving it and happy. So how about you think about what are you going to do next? Do you need to go back to college? I can help you get paperwork. I can show you how to do it. College is huge for me, and I truly believe that it can really help us emotionally and mentally and physically. Are you doing meditation? That can be really good. Checking your self-talk is the biggest thing I'd like you to learn from today is, are you paying attention to what you're telling yourself and catching the crappy lies that you tell yourself, because it happens all the time. And that's one of the easiest, hardest things to change. Have you set some goals? But make sure your goals are actually achievable. Don't set them too big because you'll fail. They have to be small and achievable. Are you getting your checkup with your doctor so you know your meds are right if you're on medication? I'm not a huge med believer, but I think it can help you while you process and work on stuff. Uh, Eating healthy, that's so hard with all the junk out there today, but I think it's really important that our mind, bodies, and souls are in sync. I've been working on that. It is a hard task for me, but I'm going there. I am going to try to do better. Getting involved in our community. What are you doing to be around people that are uplifting and positive and out having fun? You may not be social, but you know what? You need to make yourself social. It's really good to participate in things that are better. Be a part of Building Our Families. We have monthly meetings. Find us on Facebook. There's so much that we're doing that we would welcome you to, and we could use your help. What does your support system look like? Do you have positive supports? There's so many things out there if we're just not afraid to go out and get them and be a part of it. You know, what are your neighbors looking like? Who are your neighbors? Are you outside in the summer going for walks, sitting outside doing things? Or are you hiding in your house with the curtains closed and isolating yourself? What kind of friendships do you have? If you have friends that are holding you back and not being positive, again, you need to get out there and make some friends that will choose you. If somebody truly loves you, they will never ask you to do anything that hurts you or sets you back. If your friend is asking you to use meth with them, they're not really your friend. They just want somebody to use meth with. If your relationship, you're being beaten or physically abused, that is not someone you should have in your life. They do not love you. It's a dysfunctional love. You need to find a way out. There are resources for that. Building Our Families will help you with that. You know, I have my bricks here because there's so many of them that I think we carry these burdens with us. They're not just sitting there every day when we walk out of the house. You know, any trauma that you have, you're carrying it with you. You have bricks all over your body. That weight that we carry and how we deal with everything in the world is a weight that goes with us every day, every night. That weight is spread out among our family, our loved ones, our children, unless we're working on ourselves and really trying to find a better, healthier way to be. I hope I gave you some ideas today. I appreciate you watching some of my talks. I look forward to doing more. If there's ideas you have, please reach out. Go find us on Facebook. Me Let's Talks, you'll find me, and you'll find me at Building Our Families too. I'm trying to do whatever I can to help bring people to healthier places. Growing up as somebody who felt very unloved and unworthy, and changing that over my lifetime, I just know it can happen for you if you put in the work and that you really believe and learn more. Education is huge. So I thank you very much, and I hope to see you back sometime.